from a podcast called "This Podcast Is Making Me Thursday Want to Talk to You," and I think and I said, you don't have to tell me what it's about. I said, if it's called "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty," you definitely don't need to tell me what it's about, and I'm going on. This is what I want to do.
It's a Seinfeld podcast. It's called "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty." But I thought, this is what a podcast should be.
I just did the Seinfeld guys pod the other day. I came up with
these pretzels are making me thirsty.
Oh,
that one. Shout out. We've done it. I've done it. Have you did it?
I've not gotten a chance to do it yet. I'm looking forward to it.
It's so fun. They're so fun.
When I don't know, it must have shown up in my feed, but I see these guys tweeting about Seinfeld. I'm like, oh, what's this? And I find it's a podcast called "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty."
One of the most popular Seinfeld podcasts is "This Podcast Is Making Me Thirsty," co-hosted by Chris O'Hara and Tony Chulin.
This podcast is making me thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is 2 Up and 2 Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us off.
All right, Thirsty fans, thanks for tuning in for another episode of 2 Up and 2 Down. And today we are doing season 6. The episode is The Chinese Woman. So, Chris, start us off with your first up.
The Chinese Woman, written by a friend of the show, Peter Melman, of course, October 13th of 1994. 29.2 million people tuned in that night, Thursday night, of course, in that famous slot. And what else was on that night? We always got to talk about this. ABC Matlock, of course. We all love Matlock. Boy, that show feel like it was on forever, right? CBS, if you guys remember, Chicago Hope. I think it was a hospital show, right? But that night, that episode of Chicago Hope, good old Mr. Bookman was on the show, Philip Baker Hall. So a little Seinfeld tie in there. And then, of course, on Fox, New York Undercover, again, always seemed to find its way up against Seinfeld. Okay, here we go, folks. 2 positives and 2 negatives. And we're going into this fresh. We're not exchanging notes. It's kind of, riffing on the fly, if you will. So, interesting episode. Melman, of course. I'm going to go, kind of a big moment, I think, in her lore. We met Estelle Costanza during the contest, but this was one of those moments. Obviously, when Donna Chang comes over to dinner in Queens, so Estelle finally meets her, and you're not Chinese. I was duped. Incredible stuff. And then obviously the famous line, "I'm not taking advice from some girl from Long Island." I mean, as good as it gets. What a delivery. I mean, you just felt it in that moment, like, holy cow, Estelle just giving it to her. And then Frank going nuts. That whole scene was just unbelievable. But I think Estelle just set the tone, and her facial expressions, her acting, her delivery, remarkable stuff. Obviously, Melman wrote it, but Estelle, as good as it gets in Estelle Costanza lore, for our part. So, Chinese Woman, not taking advice from some girl from Long Island. Hard to not give that an up. So that's my first.
Yeah, that's a good scene there. So definitely worthy of an up. Tony, over to you. What's your first up here?
All right. First up on The Chinese Woman. O'Hara took the big one. I mean, that's obviously an all-timer. Obviously, we had Angela Dorman on. Hell of a guest. Great synopsis of that scene. I'm going to go my first up here, though, friend of the show. I'm going to go, and this, I don't know how many times we do this. We've probably done it each couple of times. But for me, I'm going Melman as an up on this one. I think there's some really great lines that are just dropped in this episode that I took note of, and I kind of put them all together as a Melman up. I know we all love Melman with, things like the Hamptons and shrinkage and things like this where it's obvious. This one you don't think about though as one of his big ones. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you do, but Jerry with the whole first ever day of the Pacific Rim. When Kramer's talking about going in a cup in the afternoon, and Elaine's like, "Does that conflict with your normal schedule?" I mean, great quick line by Elaine. Why you seen her? After all the stuff about her not being Chinese, Jerry's like, she's a woman. Like, well, of course it doesn't matter at this point. And then obviously Kramer. That might be a separate up, but I just love the flip it, I'm flopping line by Kramer. Just a lot of the stuff O'Hara mentioned with Estelle. I mean, that's obviously all Melman too, but I thought those other conversational lines that Melman dropped in were great. He's usually good at like shrinkage and kind of yada yada, obviously, and where he's trying to get the big catchphrase, but this was just really funny lines, really funny dialogue. And maybe Larry David had a hand in it, I don't know, but I think Melman really writes that well. So I'm going to give Melman an up on this one, just for some of those really, really good lines in this episode.
Well, it's not anything without the writing. So yeah, good pull there. Chris, back to you. What's your first up or second up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, listen, great nod to Melman for sure. And again, yeah, you mentioned some of the all-time classics, and some of these get overlooked, and they shouldn't. So nice job there. And yeah, I don't know. You mentioned some of the lines that kind of weave into some of my ups. I think some of the ups are just characters, but I think that's okay at this point. Yeah, I'm gonna go, you know what? I'm gonna go Kramer. I mean, his whole, on the last of the Kramers, Will I Live On, and him walking in and dumping all the jockeys on Jerry's table. I mean, just classic Kramer. I'm flipping and flopping. You mentioned it. I'm out there, Jerry, and I'm loving every bit of it. I'm like a naked innocent boy. All he's just going on, roaming the countryside. I mean, Kramer was bringing it. And then obviously, I kind of even liked him at the end when he picked up the phone with another friend of the show, Noreen, who we love, and how just stern Kramer was with Elaine. Always loved that, and he said he's going to get Noreen back in the army, like to have some discipline and bump up onto her life. So I thought Kramer brought it. It's an interesting episode, right? There's a lot going on, and like not a lot of it's tied together. I feel like the Kramer Lane stuff more so, with Donna Chang's kind of with the Costanzas. So there's no real like bow on this. To some degree, you might think that with the end, but we'll get to that in the grades. But I think Kramer did a great job. His acting and walking with the pants when he was going, commando, like classic Kramer, like without even speaking. Just his movements are just as good as it gets. So for me, second up, the K-Man.
Yeah, great line there with the I'm out there, Jerry, and I'm loving every minute of it. Also, he needs a secure packaging of jockeys. His boys need the home. Great stuff. So, yeah, all that by Kramer was fantastic. Tony, over to you. What's your second up?
Yeah, it was a solid Kramer. That part was solid Kramer anyway. I guess we'll get there, but I agree. It can't be Kramer dancing around in commando. My other up, I had two here I wanted to take. I'm going to go with this one though, because on a live watch, this one really got me good. I was, and I kind of always go back to it. It's one of those just classic, and there's not, and we'll get there too. I mean, Costanza, I don't know if this was his best episode per se, right? Season 6 or teetering a little bit. But when he finds out about the divorce, when Donna Chang tells him about the divorce, he just walks over to the oven, turns the oven on, gets down, doesn't. I mean, to me, that's a hell of a reaction. Great scene. Just not a word was even spoken. He just fucking walks over and then he gets down. A little, yeah, obviously, outlandish, if you will. Obviously, he didn't go through with it, but just really funny reaction. I thought live it really hit well when I first saw it, and still holds up, because that's I can go any which way you want it to with George. He could just start yelling, which he ends up doing. But, with that actual moment, he just takes a pause. It's over. Everything's over. It just goes right there.
Well, let me ask you.
Yeah.
Because I actually had that as a down. I won't use it. But is he upset? I don't get it. Like, because
Yeah,
he doesn't
he's
really.
upset. I mean, he continued. Well, that's my down. We're not there yet, but yeah, he's very upset. He does this whole yelling stuff afterward. Two visits. He's got to go up and down to Queens. The whole thing. He
Okay.
doesn't want to have to.
But in the moment, like, oh, my parents getting divorced, like he's not heartbroken. I
No.
don't know. It was weird. I don't
Not
know.
heartbroken. He's Costanza mad. He's
Yeah.
mad. Yeah, he's looking at it from that perspective. And then my life's over. I got to deal with this now. I don't want to deal with this.
Okay,
That's how I
all
look.
right.
Yeah. So that's my my second up.
All right. Well, so that's the ups. So thank you guys. So Chris, back to you. What's your first down?
All right. Just mentioned to Tony that I thought that was a down, but just because I didn't, and I know we went on with the other thing, but who knows? It's to your point, George. Yeah, I don't know. All right. Jerry's obsession with this. He's a long talker. Enough already. Long talker, close talker, this talker, low talker. I mean, it never ends. Like, this is season 6. What are we doing here? It's too much. It's too much. And then I think this is the first up, right? I'm not going to take too much, but I'll stick with that. But I think it weaved into hurting other people in this episode because it wasn't much for storyline there. But like a long talker, really? I mean, really? What are we like? This is just and I think it's a Jerry thing. I'm not blaming Melman. You get Melman up. I think Jerry's like, oh, let's do low talker. We haven't covered long talker. We haven't covered that. I mean, enough already. So the obsession with blank talker. This is the last one, I think. Am I done with the talkers?
No, I think there's a high talker after this. Or was that no? The pledge was the high talker. So
yeah,
okay.
Because they mentioned Noreen with the high.
But that's
talker.
another high. That's another talker.
So there you go. Enough was enough. So that's my. And I believe that kind of kicks off the show. They're in the street together. So, and I don't like when things don't kick off right. But nevertheless, first down.
All right. Yeah, that was your first down. So Tony, over to you. What's your first down?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote that in my notes. Long talk. O'Hara hates it. I was waiting for that to come out. I mean, I knew it, and I get it. I get it on this one. I do. I get where O'Hara's coming from this one. I wrote it down. O'Hara hates long talker, and in this case, I agree with him because this wasn't even funny, and it ruined, as he mentioned, and that's going to be my down. I may have a few here. I got 2 downs here that kind of piggyback off O'Hara's thing with the long talker, bringing other people into it because there's so many that ruin this. I'm going to go with this one here for my first one, and maybe I'll even take the second one for my second one. But I'm going to go the Kramer at the end taking over with Noreen's life and talking on the phone. Like, what is going on here? I'm so confused. Love Kelly Caulfield. Loved her on Living Color. Loved her as a guest on our show. But what is going on? Kramer answers the phone. I'm gonna handle her now. She's going back to the army. All that shit. What? Completely lost. The whole episode just takes this weird ass turn that makes no sense. To Harris' point, it's very disjointed. I wrote disjointed down like 3 times. I have 3 downs. They all revolve around disjointedness. They all revolve around long talker. So the first one I'm going to take though is Kramer. All of a sudden, having a crush on Noreen and taking over her life as her coach and not giving the phone to Elaine. Just didn't get it at all. Just terrible down.
I don't know. Maybe that's the funny thing of it is that a guy who barely has his life together is trying to take over and get somebody else's life straight. But yeah, I mean, all right.
Actually, a fair point. But they don't know each other at all. It doesn't make any sense. Like
he does say early on in the episode that he gets.
But my point is, I think something tells me there was other stuff in this episode that got cut, or something happened in another episode where they got cut, and they just jammed it in here and made us think, all this stuff is known, and it just wasn't, and it didn't fit. That's kind of where I'm coming from. But I get your point.
Yeah, I think it could be an up and down. Depends how you look at it. So. I get your point too. So Chris, over to you. Your second down. What do you got?
Yeah, I gave Kramer big up, and I threw that in there. So I'll stick with Kramer being strong. But mine is just the Elaine storyline. Like, keep calling and hanging. Like that's what I mean. Like the long talker stuff. Just it had a ripple effect, and then Elaine just keeps hanging up on the boyfriend. And to your point, maybe that's where the spiraling came from because of that, they went and got lunch, and then Kramer threw his hat in the ring, and then the phone call happened. But like the Elaine storyline was just, what else happened other than her hanging up? Am I missing something? She had conversation with Jerry, but outside of that, it was pretty bad. And I don't think you're going to take this, but I didn't like that Jerry didn't help Elaine with the groceries. What was that about? Like, she was carrying them all. Like, I don't know. Have a little was chivalry, right? Like nothing. Just let her walk the whole time without the groceries. But Elaine, yeah, believe me. So that's what I remember about the Elaine episode is her carrying the groceries, pretty much, which is a big miss. And you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss with Elaine. And we're not at the later seasons. It's still season 6. So for me, that was a big miss. And I don't like when Elaine misses early in the run like this.
Well, as Larry David said with the finale, these are terrible people. So, Jerry not helping out Elaine with the packages, that's kind of fits in that, their character. So, Tony, over to you. What's your second down?
Yeah, listen, there's a lot going on here. I think we're both kind of, seems like lot of, it's almost like 2 episodes in one, in my opinion. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm going to go with my second down. I mean, and I don't think you touched on this, and I kind of prefaced it, but Elaine on the phone with the guy with the hair dryer, and I'm on a car phone. It reminds me of the grandma thing with your grandma. The whole thing. I just when the thing fall, whatever. I know it gets where it's coming from now. Elaine on the phone. Some of these things are just dumb. I mean, just so dumb. This was like so dumb, and it's a good couple of minutes, 3-4 minutes, probably, whatever it was. Just ridiculous. It just goes along with this guy's a long talker thing. Like, I get it. Melman loves use the catchphrase over and over. When it's shrinkage, it works. When it's a long talker, it just doesn't. And it didn't work again here with Elaine with this whole scene. So that's my. I mean, it's kind of a quick one, but that's my second down. It's just that Elaine stuff was ridiculous. So that's it.
Yeah, I agree with that one too. I mean, she could just hang up. So those are the ups and downs. So Chris, back to you. Wrap us up. Your thoughts on this episode and your final grade.
Yeah, Elaine on the phone. Like, was she in the bed again? It just wasn't. It just wasn't there. I don't know what it was. And you're right. Like, there's so much. It almost feels like 2 episodes, and this was another one. It felt long. Like, from the beginning, like there were so many scenes. Like Donna Chang, like at the restaurant, Donna Chang in the apartment, Donna Chang at the Costanzas. The Kramer stuff, a lot of stuff going on. But listen, at the end, and not only that, I think you touched on this earlier. George, there's no real big George moment. Season 4, 5, 6, you're always looking or waiting or anticipating a big George moment. It really wasn't. Now, with that said, a couple things we didn't mention. Donna Chang was great. Noreen was great. Jerry had a solid episode, right? Even Jerry explaining to Elaine, what are you doing to this woman? And he goes through what he did to her. And even Jerry, at the end to Donna Chang, you're not Chinese, with the Confucius stuff. It's time to change your name, the whole thing. We didn't even mention Frank. Frank meeting with Larry David. Incredible stuff. They couldn't say hello? Tony's sitting here batting mosquitoes. I think Frank talks about mosquitoes. They got mosquitoes in Queens. They don't have Manhattan. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't thought about it. Maybe I'm not outside enough in the city, but Frank was really good. You have no eye for fashion. So the Costanzas were great. You had Larry David, Kramer, and Kramer and Jerry did their thing for the most part. 2 friends of the show were solid. Elaine and George. At the end of the day, it always comes back to Elaine and George for some reason. Because in my eyes, across the 9-season run, they're probably the 2 most inconsistent, right? They have their big moments, but then, it's like that snowball. and maybe the snowball starting here early in season 6. With that said, I think there's enough here. You mentioned Melman, incredible writing. I have 3 grades, but the more I talk about it, or more we're talking about it in real time, it is a little disjointed. So I'm not turning it off. I'm always watching Chinese Woman, no doubt. But to give it a grade, I'm going to give the Chinese Woman a C plus. I think it's a high C plus, 78, 78 and a half, something like that. But I did have B grades, but the more we go through it, it just didn't have enough. So C plus.
All right, yeah, I think you're on point there. So let's see if Tony, do you agree? What do you got here for your final thoughts?
Yeah, I am killing a lot of bugs. You probably see this is a bad idea. I usually spray this stuff. I didn't spray yet this year. I got to spray. All the stuff you mentioned, by the way, I was gonna take like LD. I had that written down. Man in the Cape. It's a hell of an up. The the Frank Costanza stuff. Jerry couldn't say hello. The whole thing. Now the hell with both of them. I love that. Listen, I thought Frank and Estelle and George a little too much yelling. I agree, a lot of yelling actually. Probably this gets down the line of 7-8 George yelling almost. He gets really mad, obviously. It's funny because when I first think of this episode, I mean Melman season 6, O'Hara's going C range. That's interesting there, fellas. You don't see that very often, folks. I don't know. He's talking me down big time, but I still got to stick to my guns here. I think the Melman writing I gave it up to. I think Frank and Estelle and the Chinese woman line. I'm not taking advice from a woman from Long Island. That's enough for me to really kind of bring this up. The Kramer stuff is good until he starts dealing with Noreen. The Noreen stuff's bad, to O'Hara's point. Elaine is bad. George is bad. I'm giving the parents a bit more, I think. By the way, the Jerry telling Elaine all that stuff about Noreen, I hated. That was my third down I didn't use. Terrible. Oh, she joined the army. Then she went AWOL. No one knew. What is this? It doesn't make any sense. Totally disjointed. You actually started talking me down. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm just gonna stick with what I wrote down, even though I kind of see your point on a C plus. I'm giving the Chinese woman a B minus. I think Melman. I think Donna Chang Steen. I'm not taking advice from Long Island. The whole thing there. The man in a cape. You got LD. I love when he makes an appearance. I don't know. I see your point, and I could have went there. But I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna go B minus for the season 6 Chinese woman.
All right, yeah. I mean, B minus, C plus. You're both in the same ballpark. So I think you both are right there with your grades. I think that's fair for this episode. Yeah, you'll tune in, you watch it, and I think Chris, you made good points. Not strong episodes for Elaine and George. So yeah, that's why it's kind of in the C range. But again, fans, let us know what you think. You can always comment on our episodes and let us know what you feel. So thanks again, and we'll see everybody on our next episode.